Hey guys, and welcome back. Tonight, many of you have likely come here seeking a story to help you find sleep, a quiet narrative to ease you into a peaceful rest. But in the world we are about to visit, this simple, desperate search for a good night's rest was a far more dangerous and bizarre affair. You are a wealthy merchant in the 14th century, a man of status and comfort, but you are plagued by the waking curse of insomnia. You are about to embark on a desperate journey through the strange, magical, and often terrifying world of medieval treatments for sleeplessness, and you will soon see why you shouldn't trust them. So, before we begin our long sleepless night together, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past. As always, let me know in the comments where you are all listening from. Alright, dim the lights, settle into your comfortable, modern bed, and let us step back in time. A world should be a place of peace. You are in your bed in your own fine house in the heart of the bustling city. You are a successful wool merchant, a man whose calculations are sharp and whose reputation is sound. You have a good wife who is breathing softly in a deep and untroubled sleep beside you. You are lying in a magnificent four-poster bed, a fortress of carved oak and heavy velvet curtains that seal you off from the cold night. You are buried beneath a mountain of fine linen sheets, woolen blankets, and a heavy, luxurious coverlet of wolf fur. You are, by all measures of your age, in a state of absolute comfort and security. And yet, sleep will not come. Your body is a traitor. It is exhausted. Your eyes, staring up into the thick, stuffy darkness of the curtained bed, burn with a dry, gritty weariness. A deep, profound ache has settled into your bones, a relic of a long day spent on your feet in the noise and chaos of the marketplace. Every part of you, from your aching back to your tired feet, is crying out for the sweet, blessed oblivion of rest. But your mind will not be silent. It is a caged and frantic animal, pacing the confines of your skull. It is a merciless tyrant that refuses to grant you peace. You have tried everything. You have performed the rituals that are supposed to invite sleep. You have lain perfectly still, your breathing slow and deep for what feels like an eternity. You have tried to count sheep, a shepherd's trick you heard of once. But the sheep in your mind keep turning into bales of wool, and you find yourself mentally calculating the profit margin on a shipment to Flanders. You try to pray. You begin the familiar comforting words of the Paternoster, but your treacherous mind corrupts the prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy shipment will be late if the roads are mud, and the guild will impose a fine of 3 silver shillings. The sacred words become tangled with the profane anxieties of your trade. Because you are awake, you are a prisoner of every sound of the sleeping city. The world outside your quiet, comfortable chamber is a symphony of small, irritating noises, each one a testament to the fact that you are the only man in London who is still awake. You hear the distant, lonely cry of the night watchman from the street below. 2 of the clock, and all is well. His voice is a hollow, mocking lie. All is not well. 2 of the clock. You have been lying here in this state of waking torment for 4 hours. You hear the soft, insistent scratching of a rat in the wattle and daub of the walls. Is it a real rat, or just a phantom of your tired mind? It does not matter. The sound is a tiny, sharp drill boring into your sanity. You hear the sudden, violent bark of a dog in a neighbor's yard, followed by a man's angry, muffled shout. The silence that follows is even worse. A vast, empty space that your own racing thoughts rush to fill. And then, the great iron bell of the nearby church begins to toll, marking the 3rd hour. Each deep, resonant bong is a hammer blow, a pronouncement of another hour of your life, another hour of precious rest, lost forever to this strange and terrible affliction. You look at your wife, her face a serene, untroubled mask in the faint moonlight that filters through a gap in the bed curtains. You are filled with a profound and deeply lonely sense of envy. She has a gift that you have lost. She has the simple, miraculous ability to close her eyes and leave the world behind. You are here, trapped, fully conscious, while she is miles away, in the peaceful, silent country of sleep. You cannot bear it any longer. You carefully, silently, slip out of the great bed, your feet landing on a cold fur rug. The air in the chamber is frigid. You walk to the table and pour yourself a goblet of watered-down wine. You drink it, but the wine does nothing to soothe you. It only makes your weary mind feel slightly more muddled, more trapped. You stand by the window, peering through a crack in the heavy shutters. You can see the moon, a cold, silver coin in the black sky. You have been like this for a month, night after night of this same silent and exhausting battle. It is beginning to affect your work. You made a costly error in your ledgers yesterday. Your mind too foggy with fatigue to calculate correctly. Your temper is short with your apprentices. You are becoming a ghost in your own life. You stand there in the cold, your mind a relentless, churning mill of worries and calculations. And in the deep, quiet despair of the pre-dawn hours, you make a decision. This cannot continue. You cannot fight this battle alone. The folk remedies, the warm milk, the counting of sheep, the whispered prayers, they have all failed. The sun will rise soon, and when it does, you will seek out a man of science, a man of learning. You will do what you have been too proud and too frugal to do before. You will pay the fee. You will consult the physician. The long, sleepless night finally surrenders to a cold, grudging dawn. You do not feel the relief of a survivor, only the profound, bone-deep weariness of a soldier who has endured a long and fruitless siege. You rise from your bed, your body a heavy, aching weight, and you perform the simple rituals of the morning in a thick, exhausted fog. You have made your decision. You can no longer fight this war alone. You need an expert, a man whose knowledge and wisdom can succeed where your own simple endurance has failed. You leave your house and walk through the bustling, noisy streets of the city. The world of the morning is a harsh and brutal assault on your sleep-deprived senses. The loud, clattering racket of an iron-wheeled cart on the cobblestones, the sharp, pungent smell of fish from a vendor's stall, the boisterous shouts of your fellow merchants. It all feels like a physical attack, a world that is too loud, too bright, too real. Your journey takes you away from the crowded, commercial heart of the city where you live and work, and into the quieter, more respectable district where the city's most learned and powerful men reside. The physician's house is an imposing structure of dark timber and fine stone, its upper story leaning out over the street. A silent declaration of the immense wealth and status of the man who lives within. A servant, his face a mask of professional gravity, shows you not into a waiting room, but into the physician's prided study. You step inside, and you are in a different world. The chaotic, smelly reality of the medieval city is left behind, replaced by a world of the mind. The room is cool, dark, and profoundly quiet. The light is filtered through a magnificent leaded glass window, painting the floor with soft, colored lozenges of red and blue. The air smells of old parchment, of the beeswax used to seal letters, and of 100 strange, dry, and aromatic herbs that hang in dusty bunches from the ceiling beams. The walls are lined with tall wooden shelves, and upon them rests a treasure more valuable than any king's ransom: books. They are not the simple printed books of a future age, but magnificent, hand-copied and leather-bound manuscripts, each one a testament to a lifetime of scribal labor and a fortune in expense. This is not the chamber of a healer. It is the sanctuary of a great and powerful scholar. The physician himself sits behind a massive oak table, a half-written manuscript before him. He is a thin, elegant man, his face pale and intellectual, his long, slender fingers stained with ink. He is dressed in the dark, heavy, and fur-trimmed robes of a university master. He looks up as you enter, and his eyes, though not unkind, are cool, detached, and deeply analytical. He gestures for you to sit, and he listens. You pour out the story of your affliction, your voice a low, desperate, and weary torrent of words. You speak of the long, empty nights, of the inability to find rest, even when your body screams for it. You speak of the frantic, uncontrollable racing of your thoughts, the endless, repetitive calculation of profits and losses, the tallying of bales of wool and barrels of wine that parades through your mind in an endless, mocking procession. You speak of the exhaustion, of the fog in your mind, of the fear that you are losing your grip on your own sanity. He listens, his head tilted, his pale fingers steepled before him. He does not interrupt. He does not ask to examine your body. He is not interested in your flesh. He is interested in the story of your suffering, for within that story, he will find the clues to its cause. When you are finished, he is silent for a long moment, his eyes closed as if in deep contemplation. Then he speaks, and his voice is the voice of pure, calm, and absolute scientific certainty. Your affliction is a common one among men of your station, he begins, his tone that of a professor lecturing a student. It is a disease of the mind, born of an imbalance in the body. You must understand that sleep, he says, leaning forward, is a state of coolness and moisture. At night, the natural vapors from the stomach are meant to rise and to cool and dampen the brain, allowing it to rest. A healthy man's mind is like a cool, moist field at twilight. He gestures to you. Your mind, good merchant, is not a cool field. It is a hot, dry, and windswept desert. And the cause is clear. He rises and begins to pace the room, a scholar warming to his subject. Your profession, he says, is one of constant anxiety, of numbers, of profit, of loss. This mental agitation, this constant churning of the mind, is a great generator of heat. Specifically, it generates an excess of the humor known as yellow bile, or choler. This humor, as the great Galen himself taught us, is hot and dry in its nature. He stops and turns to you, his eyes alight with the fire of his own intellectual brilliance. This excess of choler in your system has caused a state known as adustion, a burning or a scorching of your other, more temperate humors. The fire from your liver, which is the seat of the bile, is rising like a foul and heated vapor, and is, to put it simply, boiling your brain. A hot brain cannot sleep, just as a pot of boiling water cannot be still. You stare at him, mesmerized. This is not the superstitious ramblings of a village healer. This is a science. It is a complex, elegant, and deeply logical system. The words he uses, humors, choler, adustion, vapors, are the words of a learned man. For the first time in weeks, you feel a genuine flicker of hope. Your terrible, invisible, and maddening affliction is not a curse. It is not a form of madness. It is a known and understood condition, a simple, mechanical problem of your own internal climate. The diagnosis, for all its strangeness, is a profound and blessed comfort. It gives a name, a shape, and a reason to your suffering. The physician sees the look of dawning hope in your eyes and gives a small, confident smile. He has made you understand the nature of your enemy. He has shown you the power of his science. He returns to his great desk, takes up a clean sheet of parchment and a quill, and prepares to write. "The diagnosis is clear," he says, his voice now full of a quiet, reassuring authority. "Therefore, the cure is also clear. We must simply fight the fire. We must cool your brain." The physician, having delivered his elegant and irrefutable diagnosis, now sits at his great oak desk. The fire of your choleric humor is boiling the spirits in your brain. The problem has been identified. Now, the solution must be prescribed. He takes up a fine goose quill pen, dips it in a pot of black ink, and prepares to write, his movements slow, deliberate, and imbued with the immense authority of his learning. "A treatment," he begins, his voice the calm, confident tone of a general outlining a simple and foolproof battle plan, "must be one of opposites. This is the great principle upon which all true medicine is based. We do not attack the body with the crude violence of a surgeon's blade. We persuade it. We entice it back into its natural state of harmony. Your affliction is one of excessive heat and dryness. Therefore, our cure must be one of profound coolness and moisture." It is a beautiful and compelling logic. You listen, mesmerized, a desperate man clinging to every learned word. You are not to be subjected to a torment, but to a gentle rebalancing, a soothing of your internal, feverish landscape. "We begin with your diet," he says, as he begins to write on a clean sheet of parchment. "The food you eat is the very fuel that feeds the humors. We must cease to feed the fire of your choler. Therefore, from this day until I say otherwise, you will consume no foods that are hot or dry in their nature." He proceeds to list the forbidden substances, and with each word, your heart sinks a little. He forbids you from eating red meat, especially roasted beef and pork, for the fire of the cooking only adds to their innate, sanguine heat. He forbids the rich, spiced sausages from your own kitchen. He forbids all hot spices, the pepper you so love, the ginger, the cloves, for they are like throwing dry tinder onto the fire in your liver. He forbids strong red wine, the very blood of the grape, which he describes as a creature of pure choleric fire. Even the hard, crusty bread from the baker, he explains, is too dry and will only exacerbate the arid state of your mind. Your diet, the hearty, flavorful, and satisfying diet of a successful merchant, has just been taken from you. In its place, he prescribes a new regimen, a diet of pure, placid, and to your mind, deeply unappetizing coolness. You will eat the lettuce, he declares, his pen scratching on the parchment, great quantities of it. The lettuce is a vegetable of almost pure water and earth, its nature phlegmatic and profoundly cool. It is the very enemy of a hot and agitated brain. He continues the list. You will eat the cucumber and the pale flesh of the melon, for they are like solidified water. Your meat will be fish, a creature of the cool and watery realm, but it must be prepared gently. It must be poached in water, never fried in the hot violence of oil. Your only drink will be cool water from the well, or a thin and soothing broth made from boiled barley. You sit there, your weary mind trying to picture this new culinary life. It is a world of pale, watery, and bland things, a diet that seems more suited to a fasting monk than a man of the world. But the physician speaks with such absolute, scientific certainty that you do not question him. This is not about pleasure, it is about a cure. He finishes with the diet and moves on to the next phase of his gentle assault on your disease. The brain itself, he explains, can be cooled directly through the nose, which is a swift and open pathway. You must, therefore, surround yourself with aromas that are cool and moist in their nature. He prescribes the scents that will bring you sleep. You will instruct a servant to bring fresh water lilies, the sacred lotus of the Nile, if they can be found, and float them in a bowl of cool water beside your bed. Their scent is one of profound, watery peace. It will dampen the hot vapors that rise to your head. He pauses, tapping his chin with the end of his quill. And for a more potent influence, you may place a piece of the mandrake root under your pillow. But be warned, he adds, his voice taking on a new serious tone. The root is a thing of great and strange power. It must be handled with care. Finally, he writes the last instruction. Each night, before you attempt to sleep, you will have a servant bathe your temples and your wrists with cool rose water. The rose is a flower of a temperate nature, and the water is the essence of coolness. This will help to soothe the heated spirits before they can begin their frantic, nightly dance in your mind. He is finished. He sprinkles the parchment with a fine, dark sand to dry the ink, rolls it into a neat scroll, and hands it to you. You take it in your hand. It is a list of lettuces, of flowers, of strange roots and gentle waters. It is the most elegant, the most civilized, and the most hopeful thing you have ever seen. There are no knives on this list. There are no hot irons. There is only the promise of a gentle, fragrant, and logical cure. You pay his clerk the first half of his enormous fee, a sum of silver that makes you physically wince, but a price that now seems small for the profound wisdom you have just received. You walk out of the scholar's dark, quiet study and back into the bright, loud, and chaotic world of the city. You clutch the precious parchment scroll in your hand like a holy relic. You have a plan. You have a science. You have a prescription from the most learned man in the city. You are filled with a new and powerful sense of optimism. You will go to the market. You will go to the apothecary. You will begin your new life, a life governed by the cool and the moist. And surely, tonight you will finally sleep. You leave the physician's magnificent house and step back out into the bright, chaotic, and suddenly hopeful-looking world of the city. The parchment scroll, with its elegant, scholarly script, is clutched in your hand. It is not just a list of instructions. It is a map, a guide that will lead you out of the dry, sweepless desert of your affliction and back to the cool, moist, and peaceful lands of rest. Your first destination is not your home, but the apothecary's shop. The physician is a man of theory, of diagnosis. The apothecary is his counterpart, a man of practice, of substance, a master craftsman whose raw materials are the herbs, roots, and minerals of the earth. You find his shop in a narrow, shadowed lane, tucked away between a bookseller and a weaver. A simple wooden sign, carved with the image of a serpent coiled around a staff, hangs above the door. You push the heavy door open, and a small bell jingles, announcing your arrival. You step from the bright, noisy street into a world of deep, quiet, and fragrant shadows. The apothecary's shop is a small, cramped, and utterly fascinating space. The air is thick with 100 different competing smells that blend into a single, complex perfume. You can smell the sweet, hay-like aroma of dried chamomile, the sharp, spicy scent of cloves, the bitter, medicinal smell of strange roots, and the deep, dusty scent of old, dried things. The shop is a forest of remedies. Bunches of dried herbs hang from the rafters like strange, sleeping bats. The dark wooden shelves are crammed, from floor to ceiling, with a dizzying array of earthenware jars, squat glass vials, and small, intricately carved wooden boxes. Each one, you know, contains a different mystery, a different piece of the great puzzle of healing. You see jars labeled in the physician's learned Latin: Mandragora, Belladonna, Papaver. The apothecary himself emerges from a back room, a small, hunched man with ink-stained fingers and eyes that are as sharp and as intelligent as a bird's. He sees the fine quality of your woolen cloak, and he gives you a respectful, professional nod. Without speaking, you hand him the physician's prescription. He unrolls the parchment on his cluttered counter and reads it, his thin lips moving silently. He nods in understanding. "Ah," he says, his voice a dry rustle. "A classic diagnosis, a choleric excess, a hot and dry distemper of the brain. The master's reasoning is sound." He looks up at you, his sharp eyes assessing your weary, sleep-deprived face. The diet and the scents will help to cool the spirits over time. But you look like a man who needs a more immediate peace. "I have not slept in a month," you say, your voice a low, desperate confession. "I need something to silence the noise in my head, a sleeping draught." The apothecary hesitates for a moment, his gaze sharp. To dispense the more powerful soporifics is a risky business, but he sees the weight of your purse and the depth of the desperation in your eyes. "The physician's prescription is a gentle one," he says, tapping the parchment. "But his logic is good. A potion to cool the brain. I can prepare something for you, something effective." He turns and begins his work. He is a master of his craft, his movements precise and economical. You watch, fascinated, as he assembles the ingredients, a physical manifestation of the physician's abstract theory. First, and most importantly, he takes a great green head of lettuce. He crushes it in a large stone mortar, then places the mash in a heavy linen cloth, and using a small wooden press, he squeezes a thin, greenish and watery juice into a bowl. This is the essence of coolness, the primary weapon against your internal fire. Then he moves to a different, more carefully guarded section of his shelves. He takes down a small clay jar filled with tiny black seeds. "Poppy," he says, showing them to you. "A gift from the fields of the East, the very spirit of sleep itself. But it is a powerful and fickle spirit. It must be used with great respect." He takes a small, precise measure of the seeds and grinds them into a fine, dark powder with a small mortar and pestle. To this, he adds a pinch of other supporting herbs, the dried, white petals of the chamomile flower to soothe the agitated spirit, and a piece of the gnarled, man-shaped root of the valerian, a plant known for its ability to bring a deep and heavy rest. He combines these ingredients, the lettuce juice, the poppy powder, the calming herbs, in a small bronze pot. He adds a spoonful of thick, dark honey to sweeten the bitter taste and to bind the potion together. He places the pot on a small charcoal brazier and heats it gently, stirring constantly, his face a mask of intense concentration. A new smell fills the shop, a strange, sweet, and slightly bitter aroma, the smell of your impending sleep. When he is satisfied, he removes the pot from the heat and allows the thick, dark green and murky liquid to cool. He decants it into a small, stoppered vial of dark green glass. It is a small quantity, no more than 3 spoonfuls, but you sense it holds a great and mysterious power. He hands the vial to you. It is cool and heavy in your hand. "1 small spoonful," he says, his voice a low and serious warning. "Mixed with a little wine, an hour before you wish to sleep. Do not be tempted to take more. The poppy is a powerful spirit, and a sleep that is too deep can be a dangerous country from which some men do not return." His words send a small, thrilling shiver of fear through you. This is not a simple herbal tea. This is a powerful medicine, a substance that borders on magic, a potion that must be treated with both hope and a healthy dose of terror. You pay the apothecary. The cost of the small vial, another painful blow to your dwindling finances. But you do not care. You clutch the vial in your hand. It feels like a key, a magical object that will finally, after weeks of desperate, fruitless searching, unlock the great, barred and bolted door to the land of sleep. You walk home, the city a blur around you. Your mind is no longer on your business, on your worries. It is focused entirely on the coming night, and on the small, heavy, and deeply promising vial of dark green liquid in your pocket. Tonight, you believe with a desperate, burning certainty will be different. Tonight, you have a potion. Tonight, you will finally sleep. Continue. You return to your home, the small, heavy, green glass vial from the apothecary, a secret and sacred weight in your pocket. The city outside is preparing for the evening, the air filled with the familiar smells of cooking fires and the sounds of men returning from their day's labor. But for you, the world has been transformed. The coming of the night, which for the past month has been a source of profound and weary dread, is now filled with a new and thrilling sense of anticipation. You are no longer an unarmed soldier facing a long and hopeless siege. You are a man with a weapon. You have a science. You have a potion. You preside over the evening meal, not as a weary, irritable ghost, but as a man with a secret. Your wife has prepared the new prescribed diet with a meticulous and hopeful care. The table is laden with the physician's remedies. There is a large wooden bowl of fresh, crisp lettuce leaves, glistening with a light dressing of oil and vinegar. There is a platter of pale, poached fish, its flesh white and flaky, its only seasoning a sprinkle of salt and a few dill fronds. There is no red meat. There is no rich dark bread. There is no strong red wine. It is a meal of pale colors and gentle flavors, a supper designed to cool and to soothe. You eat with a new sense of purpose. Each bite of the cool, watery lettuce, you tell yourself, is a small victory against the hot, dry desert of your mind. Each mouthful of the bland, soft fish is a gentle wave, quenching the choleric fire in your liver. You are not just eating, you are taking your medicine. You are actively participating in your own cure. After the meal, you retire to your bedchamber. The room has been transformed according to the physician's instructions. A great, wide bowl of cool water sits on the table beside your bed, and floating in it are 3 magnificent, pale white water lilies, their petals just beginning to open in the evening air, releasing a faint, clean, and almost holy perfume. Tucked beneath your pillow, you can feel the hard, lumpy shape of the mandrake root the apothecary sold you. A strange, man-shaped root that smells of damp earth and a faint, unsettling bitterness. The air in the room is a carefully curated atmosphere of coolness and moisture. The final ritual begins. An hour before you intend to sleep, you unstopper the small green glass vial. The liquid within is thick, dark, and murky. It smells strange, a mixture of the sweet, cloying scent of honey, the bitter aroma of the herbs, and the faint, almost sinister sweetness of the poppy. You pour a single, small spoonful into a goblet and mix it with a little watered-down wine, just as the apothecary instructed. You hold the goblet in your hands, a small, dark chalice of hope. You say a quiet prayer and you drink. The taste is not unpleasant. It is sweet from the honey, but with a powerful, bitter, and earthy aftertaste that clings to your tongue. You can feel a gentle, spreading warmth in your stomach, a sensation that is both calming and slightly unnerving. You lie down in your great bed, your wife beside you. She watches you with wide, hopeful eyes. The room is quiet, cool, and fragrant with the scent of lilies. The potion is at work in your veins. For the first time in a month, you feel a genuine, profound sense of optimism. You close your eyes, and you wait for the gentle, welcome tide of sleep to carry you away. And you wait. An hour passes. The initial, warm and sleepy feeling from the potion has faded, replaced by a familiar, frustrating alertness. Your body is tired, yes, but your mind is still a frantic, churning mill. The numbers, the anxieties, the endless calculations of your trade begin their nightly parade. You try to focus on the cool, calming scent of the water lilies, but your mind twists the pleasant aroma into a new source of anxiety. How much did the lilies cost? The apothecary surely overcharged me. I could have gotten them for half the price at the market near the docks. You feel the hard shape of the mandrake root beneath your pillow. You try to believe in its magical, sleep-inducing power, but your rational merchant's mind intrudes. It's just a root, a piece of dirt. I have paid a fortune for a piece of dirt that is now making my pillow lumpy. The night deepens. The familiar sounds of the city filter in. The watchman calls the second hour, then the third. Your wife, her hopes for you finally exhausted, has fallen into a deep and peaceful sleep beside you. You are alone again, in the same wide, waking prison you have inhabited for a month. A new and terrible emotion begins to creep in, a feeling that is worse than the simple exhaustion and frustration of before. It is the cold, bitter, and soul-crushing feeling of betrayal. You have done everything right. You have followed the science. You have eaten the prescribed foods. You have surrounded yourself with the prescribed scents. You have drunk the prescribed potion. You have paid a fortune for the most learned and respected wisdom of your age, and it has failed. The science is a lie. The physician's elegant, complex, and deeply logical theory of humors is a beautiful and entirely useless story. The lettuce, the lilies, the potion, they are nothing but expensive props in a failed play. You lie in your bed, and a new kind of despair, a despair that is blacker and more profound than any you have felt before, washes over you. You have not just failed to find sleep. You have been cheated. You have bankrupted your family. You have subjected yourself to a ridiculous diet, all for a cure that was nothing more than a scholar's dream. The week that follows is a slow, grinding descent into a new kind of hell. Every day, you dutifully eat your bland, watery meals. Every night, you drink your bitter, useless potion. And every night, you lie awake, your mind not just frantic with its own anxieties, but now also filled with a new, burning, and impotent rage. Your exhaustion is a physical weight, a cloak of lead that you carry with you all day. You are a ghost, haunting your own life. Your mind a foggy, unreliable thing. You snap at your apprentices. You can barely follow a simple conversation with your wife. You are beginning to unravel. The gentle cures have failed. The path of reason, of science, of scholarly medicine has led you to a dead end. And as you lie in your bed on the seventh sleepless night, listening to the church bells toll the third hour, you realize that you are more desperate now than you have ever been. And you know with a chilling certainty that your journey in search of sleep is not over. It is about to take a new and far darker turn. You must now leave the world of the learned physician and venture into the older, stranger, and more dangerous world of magic. The week of the physician's gentle cure is a week of the most profound and soul-crushing failure. The cool and moist diet leaves you feeling weak and perpetually hungry. The fragrant water lilies by your bed, which were meant to soothe your hot brain, become a symbol of your frustrated hopes. Their beautiful, cloying scent now seems to mock your sleeplessness. And the expensive dark green potion, the great promise from the apothecary, is a bitter, nightly disappointment. The poppy seeds within it grant you a brief, heavy drowsiness, but it is a false and fleeting peace, a thin veil of fog that does nothing to quiet the raging, frantic engine of your own mind. You do not sweep. You simply become a tired man who has been drinking a bitter and useless tea. Your exhaustion is a physical entity now. It is a heavy, leaden cloak that you cannot take off. Your business in the market suffers. Your calculations are slow. Your judgments clouded. You are a ghost, haunting the edges of your own successful life, and your desperation has curdled into a dark, simmering rage. The world of science, of learning, of gentle, rational persuasion has betrayed you. It is your youngest apprentice, a boy from the countryside, who sees the true depth of your despair. One evening, as you are preparing to close your shop, he lingers. In a low, hesitant, and fearful voice, he speaks of a different kind of healer. "Master," he whispers, his eyes not meeting yours. "My grandmother in our village, when a child had the waking sickness, she would not see a physician. She would see the cunning woman." He speaks of a folk healer, a wise woman who lives on the very edge of the city, in the poor, unregulated tangle of huts and hovels that lie just beyond the city walls, near the marshes. He speaks of a woman whose knowledge comes not from the ancient books of the Greeks, but from the older, darker, and more mysterious wisdom of the earth itself. A week ago, you would have scoffed at such a suggestion. You are an educated man, a man of commerce and of the city. You believe in the learned wisdom of the university, not in the superstitious ramblings of an old village woman. But the university has failed you. The learned physician, with all his elegant theories and expensive herbs, has done nothing but empty your purse and deepen your despair. And in the dark, desperate calculus of the truly sleepless, any path, no matter how strange, begins to seem like a reasonable one. The next evening, as twilight bleeds into the sky, you wrap yourself in a dark, simple cloak, and you go. Your journey is a descent into another world. You leave the familiar, orderly, and cobblestone streets of your own prosperous merchant district. You walk towards the city's edge, and with every step, the world changes. The streets become narrow, unpaved, and slick with a foul-smelling mud. The tall, timber-framed houses give way to low, crooked, and windowless huts made of wattle and daub. The smell of the city changes from wood smoke and baking bread to something more primal, more raw, the smell of poverty, of damp, rotting thatch, of the nearby marshes, and of 100 unfamiliar, pungent herbs. You find her cottage. It is a small, isolated dwelling, set back from the main path, its roof sagging, a thin trickle of gray smoke rising from a hole in its center. You stand before the low, crude wooden door, and you hesitate. To enter this place is to admit the final failure of your own world, the world of reason and commerce. It is to step across a threshold into a world of superstition, of magic, of things that are not spoken of in the light of day. But the memory of the long, silent, and empty hours of the previous night is a spur that drives you forward. You knock. The door creaks open. The woman who stands there is as ancient and as gnarled as an old oak tree. Her face is a web of 1,000 deep wrinkles, and her eyes, small and dark in her weathered face, are as sharp and as unsettlingly perceptive as a hawk's. She is dressed in simple, homespun wool, and her hands are stained with the earth and with the juices of the herbs that hang in great dusty bunches from the rafters of her small, single-roomed hut. She looks at you, her gaze taking in your fine, if simple cloak, your soft leather shoes, your pale, exhausted, and desperate face. "The city man cannot sleep," she says. "It is not a question. It is a statement of fact." Her voice is a low, raspy whisper, the sound of dry leaves skittering across stone. You nod dumbly. "Come in," she says, turning and disappearing back into the gloom. "And close the door. The spirits of the night are restless." You step inside. The air in the hut is thick, warm, and almost unbreathable. a chaotic symphony of 100 different smells. It smells of wood smoke, of drying herbs, of animal skins, of something musky and wild, and of a deep, ancient magic. It is the absolute opposite of the physician's clean, sterile, and scholarly study. You tell her your story. You speak of the sleepless nights, of the racing thoughts, and then you tell her of the physician's diagnosis. She listens, her head cocked, and when you speak of the hot and dry brain and the excess of yellow bile, she lets out a short, sharp, and utterly contemptuous cackle of a laugh. "The university fools," she rasps, her eyes glittering in the firelight. They look at a man as if he were a badly made stew, a thing of too much liquid and not enough salt. They read their books, but they do not see. They do not see the soul. She leans forward, and her gaze is so intense it feels as if she is looking directly into the frantic, churning mill of your own mind. "Your sickness is not in your liver, city man," she declares. "The heat you feel is not the heat of bile. It is the heat of a restless spirit. Your own soul has become untethered from your body. It wishes to fly, to calculate, to worry, when it should be at rest." Or, she adds, her voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial whisper, "Perhaps it is not your own spirit that is the problem. Perhaps a different spirit, a wandering ghost or a mischievous sprite, has taken a liking to you and is whispering in your ear all night to keep you from the peace of your dreams." Her diagnosis is a thing of terrifying, almost poetic simplicity. It is not a science. It is a story of spirits, of ghosts, of a world that is alive with unseen forces. A part of you, the rational merchant, the man of numbers and of logic, wants to scoff, to turn and flee from this dark, smoky hut and its talk of magic. But the other part of you, the desperate, exhausted, and sleepless part, is listening. The physician's science has failed you. His elegant theories have brought you no peace. Perhaps she is right. Perhaps the world is a stranger and more magical place than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. Your desperation has made you a convert. You are ready to believe in anything, as long as it promises you the single, simple, and now seemingly miraculous blessing of a single night's sleep. You stand in the small, smoky, and overwhelmingly fragrant hut, your mind reeling from the wise woman's diagnosis. The physician's world of humors, of elegant and complex theories, has been utterly swept away, replaced by an older, darker, and far more primal world of restless spirits, of wandering ghosts, of curses, and of charms. A part of you, the rational merchant who built a life on the solid, predictable mathematics of commerce, wants to turn and flee, to dismiss this as the superstitious rambling of an old, uneducated woman. But the other part of you, the desperate, exhausted, and sleepless part that has been tortured for a month, is captivated. The physician's science was a beautiful and intricate machine that produced no results. This woman's magic is a strange and frightening story, but it speaks to the deep primal fear in your own heart. It feels, in a terrifying way, more real. You are so utterly lost in the waking nightmare of your affliction that you are now willing to believe in any story. No matter how strange, that offers you a path out. The physician's remedies are for children, the wise woman says, her voice a low, contemptuous rasp. She gestures to the bunches of dried herbs hanging from her rafters. Flowers and leaves. Gentle things. They can soothe a troubled stomach or a simple headache, but they have no power over the spirit world. To calm a restless soul or to drive away an unwelcome one requires ingredients of a greater and more ancient power. She shuffles over to a dark corner of the hut, her bare feet silent on the packed earth floor. "The physician sought to cool your brain," she scoffs. "We will not cool it. We will command it to be silent. We will make a sleeping plaster, a poultice for your brow, that will carry the spirit of the deep sleep into your very skull. You watch, a silent and slightly terrified spectator, as she begins to assemble the ingredients for this strange and powerful medicine. This is not the clean, scholarly work of the apothecary. This is a form of kitchen magic, a dark and earthy alchemy. From a dusty shelf, she takes down a small, shrunken, and almost black object. It is a dried animal bladder, tied shut with a piece of sinew. She holds it up to the firelight. "The gall of a castrated goat," she says, her dark eyes glittering. "The bile is a potent and bitter spirit, powerful enough to drive away any lingering phantoms. But from a castrated goat, its collar is placid, its nature one of peace, not of anger." She takes a small, rough grater and begins to scrape the hard, dry bladder, producing a fine, greenish-brown and foul-smelling powder. Next, she moves to a large, unglazed earthenware pot in the corner. She removes the wooden lid, and a rank, musky, and deeply unpleasant smell fills the small hut. She takes a wooden spoon and scoops out a thick, yellowish, and greasy substance. "The fat of a wolf," she says, her voice taking on a reverent tone. "The great, silent hunter of the night. His spirit is one of quiet movement and of deep, dreamless sleep during the day. His fat carries his power. It will teach your own restless spirit how to be still." She places a great dollop of the pungent yellow fat into a small soot-blackened pot and hangs it over the embers of her hearth. The fat begins to melt, releasing its wild animal smell into the already thick air. Into the melted fat, she stirs the bitter greenish-brown powder of the goat's gall. She adds a pinch of dried crushed herbs, valerian and chamomile, the same herbs the apothecary used, but they seem different here, more potent, mixed with these strange animal essences. She stirs the concoction with a wooden stick, her thin lips moving in a silent, incantatory murmur. The result is a thick, greasy, and deeply unappetizing greenish-brown paste. The smell of it is almost overpowering, a nauseating mixture of the wild, musky scent of the wolf and the bitter, foul odor of the goat's bile. She pours the finished poultice into a small, lidded pottery jar and hands it to you. It is still warm. "Tonight," she instructs, her voice a low, commanding whisper, "before you seek your bed, you will take a measure of this plaster. You will spread it upon a piece of clean linen, and you will bind it to your forehead. The spirit of the wolf will guard your thoughts. The bitterness of the gall will drive away any unwelcome spirits, and you will sleep." You take the small, warm pot. Your hands, the hands of a prosperous and respected merchant, are holding a container of rendered wolf fat and powdered goat bile. A wave of profound physical revulsion washes over you. The thought of binding this foul-smelling, greasy substance to your own skin, of breathing in its rank odor all night, is almost more than you can bear. But then you think of the long, empty hours of the night to come. You think of the silence, of the ticking of your own frantic mind, of the slow, creeping madness of utter exhaustion. And your revulsion is overcome by your desperation. You have come this far. You have stepped out of your own world and into hers. To refuse her remedy now would be to admit defeat, to return to your own failed and useless methods. You are a drowning man, and she has thrown you a strange, ugly, and foul-smelling rope. You must take it. You give her the coins she demands, a price far less than the physician's, but paid with a much heavier heart. You clutch the small warm pot of the sleeping plaster, and you leave the dark, smoky, and magical world of the wise woman's hut. You walk back through the muddy, unlit lanes, towards the familiar, orderly world of the city. You are a man of logic, a man of commerce, returning to his fine, comfortable home. And you are carrying a small pot of pure, unadulterated medieval magic, a disgusting and desperate hope. You walk through the city gates, your mind a strange and tumultuous mixture of profound disgust and a tiny, shameful, and flickering ember of belief. You return from the wise woman's hut under the cloak of darkness, the small, warm pottery jar clutched in your hand like a shameful secret. The city, with its familiar, orderly streets and the distant, reassuring cry of the night watchman, feels like a world of pure reason compared to the strange, smoky, and magical reality you have just left. You are a man of logic, a merchant who lives by the predictable mathematics of profit and loss, and you have just placed your faith and your hope for a cure in a foul-smelling concoction of animal fat and bile. Back in the sanctuary of your own bedchamber, the moment of truth arrives. Your wife watches you, her face a mask of silent, fearful curiosity as you prepare the sleeping plaster. You uncap the small pot, and the rank, wild, and deeply nauseating smell of the poultice fills your clean, familiar room. It is the smell of a butcher's shop mixed with the musky scent of a wild animal's den. It is a profound and unwelcome intrusion. With a deep sense of self-disgust, you follow the woman's instructions. You scoop a measure of the thick, greasy, greenish-brown paste onto a clean strip of linen. The texture is vile, cold, and clammy. You take the plaster, and with a shudder of revulsion, you bind it to your forehead. The cold, greasy sensation against your skin is a new and special kind of torment. You lie down in your magnificent, comfortable bed, a man of wealth and status, with a bandage of pure, unadulterated filth tied to your head. The absurdity and the degradation of your situation are a fresh source of anxiety. You try to close your eyes, to find the peace you have been promised, but it is impossible. The overpowering, rank smell of the wolf's fat and the goat's gall is a constant, suffocating presence, an olfactory assault that makes your stomach churn. The long, silent hours of the night crawl by, and sleep, of course, does not come. You lie there, your mind still a frantic, churning mill of worries and calculations. But now your torment is accompanied by the inescapable, nauseating stench of your supposed cure. The night is a new and even more profound kind of hell. By the time the first gray light of dawn seeps through the shutters, you are filled with a sense of utter, abject foolishness. The magic has failed. That evening, you make the shameful walk back to the hut by the marsh. The journey is one of grim, exhausted resignation. You have tried the science of the physician and the magic of the cunning woman, and both have left you poorer and more tired than before. The wise woman is waiting for you, as if she knew you would be back. She shows no surprise when you tell her that the sleeping plaster failed. She simply nods, her dark, bird-like eyes studying your face in the firelight. "So," she rasps, her voice a dry whisper, "the spirit that troubles you is not a simple, wandering phantom to be soothed by a poultice. It is a stubborn and fearful spirit. It clings to you. It must be intimidated. It must be shown a power that is greater and more terrible than its own." Her diagnosis shifts. The problem is not that your own spirit is restless. The problem is that another, more malevolent one is tormenting you. And her new prescription is not a medicine to be applied, but a weapon to be worn. "You must acquire a talisman of power," she declares. "You must carry the spirit of a great hunter with you into the world of dreams. You must find the tooth of a wolf." She leans forward, her eyes glittering with a fierce, ancient knowledge. "Not just any wolf," she continues, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "It must be the tooth of a great old male, a pack leader, a renowned killer. The tooth is the very essence of the wolf's power. It is the instrument of his hunt, the focus of his predatory spirit. By wearing the tooth, you will be taking the wolf's spirit as your own guardian. Any lesser, mischievous spirit that whispers in your ear at night will see the tooth. It will recognize the presence of a greater, more ancient predator, and it will flee from you in terror. She does not offer to sell you such an object. That is not her way. The power of the talisman, she explains, comes from the act of seeking and acquiring it yourself. She gives you a name, a hunter, a man named Hearn, who lives on the very edge of the forest, a man who deals in the skins, the bones, and the secrets of the wild things he kills. And so, the next day, your desperate quest continues. You leave the city and walk for an hour to the edge of the great, dark forest. You find the hunter's hovel. It is a grim, foul-smelling place, the walls decorated with the skulls of stags and the stretched, drying pelts of foxes and wolves. The hunter himself is a grim, silent man, his hands stained with old blood, his eyes as wild and as watchful as the beasts he hunts. You tell him what you want, a tooth, from a great wolf. He looks at you, a soft city merchant, with a kind of pitying contempt. But he sees the desperation in your eyes and the glint of the silver coins in your purse. He disappears into the back of his hovel and returns with a small leather pouch. He opens it and pours the contents into his calloused palm. It is a collection of yellowed, wicked-looking canine teeth. He selects the largest one. It is long, curved, and lethally sharp. Its root a dark, ugly brown. From a great gray male, the hunter says, his voice a low growl. Killed him myself last winter. He took 3 of the Baron's hounds with him before he fell. He names a price that is so exorbitant it makes you gasp. It is a price for a relic, for a piece of magic. But you are a desperate man. You pay him. You return home. The wolf's tooth, a strange, heavy, and vaguely dangerous presence in your hand. It feels ancient. It feels powerful. You have now moved completely beyond the world of medicine and into the realm of pure shamanistic magic. That night, your wife, her face a mask of confusion and fear at this strange new turn, helps you thread the tooth onto a strong leather cord. You tie the grim, predatory talisman around your neck. The sharp point of the tooth is cold against the skin of your chest. You lie down in your bed. You will go to sleep tonight, protected not by the logic of a physician or the herbal concoctions of a healer, but by the dead, silent power of a killer. And you pray that it will be enough to frighten away the demons of your own sleepless mind. You lie in the darkness of your chamber, the wolf's tooth, a cold, sharp, and utterly useless weight against your chest. The night has been a new and special kind of failure. The cunning woman's magic has not brought you the deep, dreamless sleep of the wolf. Instead, it has only added a new and unwelcome texture to your sleeplessness. Your mind, already a frantic mill of commercial calculations, has been filled with strange, predatory, and half-formed thoughts. You do not feel rested. You feel wilder, more agitated, your spirit tainted by the grim, savage energy of the talisman. In the cold, gray light of morning, you unfasten the leather cord from around your neck. You look at the yellowed, deadly tooth in the palm of your hand, and you are filled with a profound and bitter sense of your own foolishness. You are a man of the city, a man of numbers and of trade, and you have been reduced to seeking a cure in the savage magic of the deep woods. It has failed, just as the physician's elegant science has failed. The despair that settles upon you now is deeper than ever before. You are trapped between 2 worlds of medicine, the scholarly, and the superstitious, and both have proven to be utterly powerless against the demon of your sleeplessness. Your exhaustion is a physical illness. Your hands tremble. Your thoughts are a scattered, unreliable mess. Your business, your very life, is beginning to unravel. It is in the marketplace, a few days later, that a new and different kind of hope is offered. You are speaking with another wealthy merchant, a man who trades in rare silks and spices from the East. He sees the deep, dark circles under your eyes, the weary slump of your shoulders. He leans closer, his voice a low, confidential whisper. "You are unwell, my friend," he says. "The waking sickness has a hold on you." He then tells you a story. He speaks of a new kind of remedy, a cure that is not for the common folk with their animal part poultices, nor for the theoretically minded with their useless lettuce potions. He speaks of a cure for men of substance, a cure that is as much a work of art as it is a medicine. He speaks of the anodyne necklace. The hope that sparks in your chest is a weak and tentative thing, but it is there. It is a hope that is tailored to your own merchant's soul, for the logic of this new cure is one of value. Its power, the merchant explains, comes from the precious and rare materials of which it is made. You seek out the artisan he spoke of. His workshop is not the dark, smoky hut of the cunning woman, nor the sterile, book-filled study of the physician. It is a quiet, mysterious, and impeccably clean shop in the city's most expensive district, a place that is equal parts jeweler, alchemist, and magician. The artisan is a small, quiet man with intelligent eyes and hands that are stained with the colors of strange chemicals. You tell him of your affliction. He nods slowly, a look of profound understanding on his face. He explains the science of the necklace to you, his voice a low and mesmerizing hum. It is a different kind of science from the physician's. It is a science of sympathies, of hidden virtues, of the secret magical properties that lie sleeping within the heart of matter. Sleep is a state of peace, the artisan explains. To find it, you must surround yourself with peaceful and virtuous things. He shows you the materials. First, the gemstones. He lays out a handful of deep, purple amethysts on a black velvet cloth. The amethyst, he says, is a stone of sobriety and calm. It cools the passions and quiets the agitated mind. It is a natural enemy of the frantic thoughts that keep you awake. He adds to them a string of perfectly round, white pearls. The pearl is born of the water and is ruled by the moon. Its nature is one of cool, gentle, and receptive quiet. Next, he shows you the herbs. But these are not the simple, common herbs of the physician's prescription. He brings out a small, locked wooden box. Inside are the seeds of the henbane plant. They are tiny, dark, and look almost sinister. This is a powerful and dangerous spirit of sleep, the artisan whispers. It must not be consumed, for its embrace can be a fatal one. But its scent, gently released, is a powerful lullaby to a troubled mind. The construction of the necklace, he explains, is a ritual in itself. The amethyst and the pearls must be strung on a thread of the purest unbleached silk. A series of small, sealed silk sachets, each containing a few of the henbane seeds and other calming herbs, are woven between the stones. And all of this work must be done under the light of a waxing moon by a craftsman who has purified himself with fasting and prayer. The price he names for such an object is astronomical. It is a price that will require you to sell the last of your wife's dowry jewelry and a small plot of land your father had left you. But you are a desperate man, and the logic of this cure, a logic of value, of craftsmanship, of rare and precious things, speaks to your own soul. You believe that a cure that is so expensive, so beautiful and so difficult to create, must surely be a powerful one. You agree to the price. A week later, the anodyne necklace is ready. You return to the artisan's shop. He presents it to you on a velvet cushion. It is a thing of strange and profound beauty. The deep royal purple of the amethysts and the soft milky glow of the pearls are a vision of calm and luxury. The small silk sachets, when you lift the necklace, release a faint, strange, sweet, and slightly unnerving scent. The necklace is heavy in your hands, its weight a promise of its power. You take your new, expensive, and beautiful hope home. That night, your own private ritual is different. You remove the crude, savage, and failed wolf's tooth talisman from your neck. And in its place, you fasten the cool, heavy, and fragrant anodyne necklace. The smooth, polished stones are a comforting weight against your skin. The strange, sweet scent of the henbane is a gentle, ever-present cloud around your head. You lie down in your bed. You have tried the science of the academy. You have tried the magic of the common folk. Now you have placed your faith and the last of your fortune in a third and final path, the path of arcane luxury, of alchemical art. You close your eyes, breathing in the strange, soporific perfume, and you pray to a new set of gods, the silent, secret gods of gemstones and poisonous herbs, that you have finally, at great and ruinous cost, purchased your own peace of mind. You lie in the deep, silent darkness of your curtained bed, a man armed with the most advanced and expensive magical technology of your age. The primitive, savage power of the wolf's tooth has been cast aside, replaced by this new and sophisticated instrument of peace. The anodyne necklace is a cool, heavy weight upon your chest, a constant, physical reminder of the fortune you have spent and the hope you have invested. The air inside the enclosed space of your bed is thick with its strange, sweet, and complex perfume. It is the scent of the henbane seeds, a sleepy, almost narcotic aroma, mingled with the cool, clean scent of the amethyst stones and the faint, salty perfume of the pearls. You breathe it in deeply, a willing participant in your own cure. You are not just wearing a necklace, you are wearing a story, a theory, a belief system. And for the first hour, you allow yourself to believe. The sheer novelty of the sensation is a welcome distraction. The weight on your chest is a focal point for your frantic mind. The strange, dizzying scent is a new river for your thoughts to follow. You do feel a certain heaviness in your limbs, a gentle, pleasant lassitude. Your heart, which usually pounds with a frantic, anxious rhythm in the silence of the night, seems to slow. A warm, hopeful feeling spreads through you. It is working, you think. The price was high, but the peace is worth it. It is finally working. You close your eyes and you surrender, waiting for the gentle, fragrant tide to pull you under into the blessed, silent ocean of sleep. And you wait. And you wait. The second hour of the night arrives, announced by the distant, lonely cry of the watchman, and with it, the familiar, unwelcome, and terrible guest returns. Your mind. The initial, pleasant drowsiness, which you now recognize as the simple product of your own desperate hope, begins to fade, and your mind, that restless, untamable beast, begins its frantic nightly work. It is as if the rational, calculating merchant within you has finally broken free of the magical, scented spell you tried to cast upon it. And now, the very instrument of your cure becomes the new instrument of your torment. The scent, which was at first a novel and soothing perfume, now becomes a cloying, sickly, and inescapable presence in the stuffy, airless space of your bed. The sweet aroma of the henbane is no longer a gentle lullaby. It is a thick, suffocating blanket. It gives you a dull, pounding headache, a new pain to accompany your old weariness. The heavy weight of the necklace on your chest, which was at first a comforting, grounding pressure, now feels like a physical burden. It is the weight of a stone, the weight of a guilty conscience, a constant, oppressive reminder of your folly. And your thoughts, which you had hoped would be silenced, now find a new and terrible subject to feast upon. You are no longer just calculating the price of wool from the Cotswolds. You are now calculating, with a frantic and agonizing precision, the true cost of the necklace you are wearing. You think of the small plot of land your father left you, the land you sold yesterday. You picture it in your mind, the way the sun would catch the dew on the grass in the morning. It is gone. You think of your wife's last remaining silver brooches, the ones she sold to the goldsmith, the last vestiges of her own family's wealth. They are gone. You are wearing your own financial ruin around your neck. A new and even more potent anxiety takes hold. It is the terror of the failed investment. What if this doesn't work? The thought screams in the silence of your mind. You have spent everything. This was your last hope. And if it fails, what then? The very object designed to bring you peace has become the new, sharp, and terrifying focus of your sleepless, racing mind. By the third hour of the night, as the great church bell tolls its deep, mournful note, the truth is undeniable. You are as wide awake as you have ever been in your life. But now, your familiar torment is accompanied by a new and exquisite set of miseries. Your head aches. You are slightly nauseous from the oppressive perfume, and you are filled with the fresh, searing, and all-consuming anxiety of a man who knows he has just been comprehensively and ruinously swindled. The night wears on, a perfect and uninterrupted continuation of your personal hell. The dawn arrives, a slow, gray, and unwelcome intrusion. You did not sleep. You did not rest for a single moment. You sit up in bed as your wife enters the chamber. The heavy, fragrant necklace is a mark of shame upon your chest. Did you rest well, my husband?" she asks, her voice a thin thread of hope. You do not have the heart to tell her the truth, but she can see it in your red-rimmed, haunted eyes. "You smell wonderful," is all she says, a statement of such profound and bitter irony that you almost want to laugh or to weep. Later that morning, after you have forced down your bread and ale, you stand in your chamber alone. You unfasten the anodyne necklace. You hold the beautiful, heavy, expensive, and utterly powerless object in the palm of your hand. It is a monument to your own desperation, a jewel-encrusted testament to your failure. You have now walked all the paths of healing. You have tried the cool, rational science of the great physician. You have tried the hot, primal magic of the cunning woman. And you have tried the expensive, arcane luxury of the alchemist. Science, shamanism, and sophistication, they have all failed you. They have all taken your money, and they have all left you more hopeless than before. You stand there, holding the necklace, and a new, cold, and terrifying thought begins to form in your mind. The physician said the sickness was a hot vapor in your brain. The cunning woman said it was a restless spirit in your soul. The alchemist said it was an imbalance of passions. What if they were all, in their own way, right? What if the problem is not a humor, not a spirit, but a physical thing? A pressure, a heat, a foul vapor that is literally, physically trapped inside your skull. The thought is a terrifying one, but it is also a logical one. And if the problem is a physical one, then perhaps it requires a physical solution, a craftsman's solution, a direct approach. You think with a shudder of pure, primal fear, of the one type of healer you have not yet dared to consult, the man of blades, of saws, of iron, the barber surgeon. You take the anodyne necklace from your neck. You hold the beautiful, heavy, and utterly useless string of amethysts and pearls in your hand for a long moment, the scent of henbane still clinging to it like a funeral shroud. Then you place it in a wooden box and close the lid. You have now exhausted the known world of cures. You have submitted to the cool, elegant science of the university-trained physician. You have humbled yourself before the hot, primal magic of the cunning woman. You have bankrupted yourself for the sophisticated, alchemical luxury of the master artisan. Science, magic, and art, the three great pillars of human knowledge, have all failed you. The week that follows is a descent into a new and more profound kind of hell. The hope that had sustained you through your desperate quest for a cure is now completely gone. And in its absence, the sleeplessness tightens its grip, its tendrils reaching into every corner of your life. It is no longer a simple affliction of the night. It is now a disease of the day. Your body begins to betray you in new and frightening ways. A constant, fine tremor takes up residence in your hands, making it impossible to write a clear line in your merchant's ledger. Your eyes, perpetually bloodshot and gritty from a lack of sleep, ache in the daylight, forcing you to seek the gloom of the back rooms of your house. You lose all appetite for food, and your once sturdy frame begins to wither, your fine woolen clothes hanging loose on your shoulders. But the most terrifying decay is in your mind. Your thoughts, which were once a sharp and reliable tool, are now a chaotic, untrustworthy mess. You cannot follow a simple conversation. You forget the names of your own apprentices. You stand in the middle of your own warehouse, surrounded by the bales of wool that are the source of your wealth, and you cannot remember the simple mathematics required to calculate their value. You are a merchant who can no longer think. You are a craftsman who can no longer hold his tools. You are unraveling. Your wife watches you with eyes that are wide with a silent, helpless terror. She sees her strong, competent husband, the master of his own small universe, dissolving into a weak, confused, and trembling ghost before her very eyes. You are dying, not from a swift and honest disease, but from a slow, grinding, and relentless erosion of the self. It is on the 8th day after the failure of the necklace, in the dead, silent hour of the night, as you are pacing the cold stone floor of your chamber like a caged and frantic animal, that the final, terrible thought, which has been lurking in the back of your mind, finally takes hold. The physician said the cause was a hot vapor. The cunning woman said it was a restless spirit. What if they were both, in their own way, describing the same thing? A physical pressure, a foul air, trapped inside the sealed, bony pot of your skull, with no way to escape. The thought is a terrifying one. It is a craftsman's logic, a simple, mechanical diagnosis for a spiritual ailment. If a cask of wine is fermenting too quickly, you do not anoint it with oils. You open the bung to release the pressure. The logic of it is so simple, so brutal, and so compelling that it becomes an obsession. In your exhausted, desperate, and unraveling mind, this one terrible idea becomes the only clear and solid thing in a world of confusion. The problem is in your head, and it must be let out. You know who you must see. It is the last resort, the final, desperate gamble of a man who has nothing left to lose. The next morning, you leave your house. Your wife tries to stop you, her eyes full of a new and specific fear, for she knows where you are going. You brush past her. Your journey takes you away from the respectable districts of the scholars and the wealthy artisans. You walk towards the noisy, bloody, and pragmatic heart of the city, to the street of the butchers, the tanners, and the barbers. You find his shop easily. A red and white striped pole hangs by the door, a symbol of his trade. From a hook on the windowsill, a pewter bowl filled with a dark, brownish liquid, the blood from his morning's first patient, is displayed as an advertisement of his services. You stand before the door, your heart a slow, heavy drum of pure cold dread. But you know you cannot turn back. You push the door open and step inside. The shop is a small, sawdust-covered room that smells of cheap soap, of singed hair, and of the faint, underlying coppery scent of old, dried blood. A man is in the barber's chair, his face lathered, as the surgeon's apprentice carefully draws a razor across his cheek. At the back of the room is the surgical area, a simple wooden table and a chair, both stained dark with the history of their use. On the wall hang the tools, not just razors and scissors, but the grim iron instruments of his other trade, the tooth pullers, the saws, the probes, the hot irons. The barber surgeon himself emerges from a back room. He is the same man who treated your fictional counterpart with the wounded leg, a large, powerful, and utterly unsentimental craftsman. He sees you, and his shrewd eyes take in your fine clothes, your trembling hands, and the wild, desperate look on your face. "Master merchant," he says, his voice a low, gravelly rumble. "You are a long way from the wool market. What service can I provide? A tooth? A letting of blood to calm the nerves." You shake your head. You tell him your story. You tell him of the sleepless nights, of the physician's useless potions, of the cunning woman's failed magic. He listens, and unlike the physician, he does not scoff. But he is a man of the physical world. He dismisses the talk of humors and spirits with a wave of his massive hand. "The scholars and the hedge witches," he grunts. "They treat the shadows. I treat the substance." He leads you to the chair in the back. He does not ask about your urine. He does not ask about your dreams. He asks you to sit. He places his large, powerful, and surprisingly warm hands on your head. He begins his examination. His thick thumbs press firmly against your temples, your forehead, your scalp, feeling for a pressure that only he can understand. He taps your skull with his knuckle, as you would tap a cask of wine to see if it is full. He looks into your eyes, not for signs of spiritual imbalance, but for signs of a physical pressure within. You sit there, a silent and trembling patient, as this great, practical man examines your head as if it were a piece of wood or stone. After a long, silent moment, he steps back, his face a mask of grim, professional certainty. "Yes," he says, his voice full of a craftsman's confidence. The physician was not entirely wrong. The heat inside is great. The vapors have been building for a month, with no escape. The skull is a sealed pot, and it is about to crack. He turns to his leather roll of tools on the wall. We must unseal it. He selects an instrument. It is small, with a wooden handle and a sharp, pointed, screw-like tip of black iron. It is a trepan, a drill for the human skull. The last resort has been reached. You have exhausted the world of gentle persuasion and subtle magic, and you have now placed your life and your sanity in the hands of a man whose only solution for a troubled mind is to bore a hole in your head. You are sitting in the surgeon's chair, a sacrificial lamb waiting for the slaughter. The world outside, with its noise and its sunlight, has ceased to exist. Your entire universe has shrunk to this small, grim room, to the smell of old blood and iron, and to the terrifying, simple, and beautifully made object in the surgeon's hand. It is the trepan, a drill for the human skull. He is testing its sharp, screw-like tip with his thumb, his face a mask of calm, professional concentration. He is a carpenter, and your head is a piece of wood. He turns to his apprentice. "The brace," he says, his voice a low grunt. The boy hurries to fetch the larger wooden brace that will hold the drill, allowing the surgeon to apply the necessary, powerful torque to pierce your skull. And in that small, simple moment, as you watch the boy fumbling with the brace, the spell of your desperate logic shatters. A wave of pure, primal, and incredibly lucid terror washes over you, a wave so powerful it is a physical force. A jolt of lightning that clears the fog from your exhausted mind. You are not a faulty machine. You are not a sealed pot of vapors. You are a man, and you are about to allow this butcher to drill a hole into your living head based on a theory that might be nothing more than a madman's dream. The image of the drill, of it biting into your own bone, of it piercing the sacred and unknown territory of your own mind, is a vision of such profound and absolute horror that it finally breaks through your months of weary resignation. Before the surgeon can turn back to you, you leap from the chair. Your movement is a sudden, clumsy, and frantic scramble. I cannot, you stammer, your voice a choked, panicked thing. I must think. I will return. The surgeon looks at you, his eyes wide with a mixture of surprise and profound annoyance. He has never had a piece of wood stand up and walk away from him before. But before he can shout, before he can stop you, you have stumbled out of his shop, out of the world of blood and iron, and back into the familiar, chaotic, and suddenly beautiful world of the street. You do not stop. You run. You run with a wild, desperate energy you did not know you possessed, pushing your way through the crowds, your only instinct to put as much distance as possible between yourself and that terrible, quiet little room with its saws and its drills. You are adrift. You are a man who has just run away from his own execution, but you are still afflicted with the disease that earned you the sentence. You have fled from the surgeon's cure, but you have not fled from your insomnia. You are back where you started, a man at war with his own mind, but you are now poorer, weaker, and with one fewer door to knock on. You wander the city for hours, your mind a chaos of terror and indecision. Where do you go now? The physician's gentle persuasion has failed. The cunning woman's earthy magic has failed. The surgeon's brutal mechanics are a horror you cannot face. There are no options left. And then, as if guided by some desperate homing instinct, your feet lead you back to the narrow, shadowed lane of the apothecary. You enter his dark, fragrant shop. The old man looks up from the herbs he is grinding, and he sees the new, wilder terror in your eyes. He sees the ghost of the surgeon's shop clinging to you. You tell him everything. You tell him of the surgeon's diagnosis, of the hot vapors trapped in your skull. And you tell him of the drill. The apothecary listens. His face grim, his bird-like eyes full of a strange, sad wisdom. He is a man who lives in the middle ground, between the airy theories of the physicians and the bloody work of the surgeons. He knows the limits of them both. He is not wrong in his own way, the apothecary says softly when you are finished. The surgeon sees a lock and knows only how to break it with a hammer. But there are other ways. There are keys. He makes a decision. He sees the depth of your desperation, and he knows that you are now a man who is willing to walk a darker and more dangerous path. Come, he says, and he leads you from the public space of his shop into the private world of his back room. And from there, through a small locked door, out into a tiny, high-walled and secret garden. It is the poisonous garden. It is a place of strange, unsettling beauty. Here do not grow the familiar, friendly herbs like mint and chamomile. Here grow the plants of power, the plants of magic, the plants that hold the secrets of sleep, of visions, and of death. He shows them to you, his voice a low, reverent whisper. He points to a tall plant with hairy, sticky leaves and ugly, purplish-yellow flowers. Henbane, he says. The plant of dreams and of madness. This is what was in your first gentle potion, in a dose fit for a child. A larger dose does not bring sleep. It brings waking dreams and terrifying visions. It is a key that can unlock the mind, but it can also break it. He leads you to another, more beautiful plant, a bush with deep green leaves and shining jet black berries that look like the eyes of a serpent. Belladonna, he whispers, the beautiful lady. The juice of its berries can make a woman's pupils widen with beauty, or it can make a man's heart stop beating in his chest. The line between the two is a single, careless drop. He shows you the other denizens of this strange, potent garden. The gnarled, man-shaped root of the mandrake, the delicate flowers of the opium poppy. This is his secret arsenal, the source of his true and most dangerous knowledge. He turns to you. I can make you a potion that will make you sleep, he says, his voice low and serious. Not a gentle potion of lettuces, but a true sleeping draught. A powerful and commanding spirit that will chain the frantic animal in your mind and drag it down into the darkness. But it is a dangerous path. The sleep it brings is not a peaceful one. It is a deep, heavy, and troubled country, often filled with nightmares. And the risk is always there. A dose that is too strong, a body that is too weak, and it can become a sleep from which you do not wake. You look at the strange, beautiful, and deadly plants. And you think of the surgeon's drill. You are now faced with a new and even more terrible choice. The surgeon offers a brutal, physical violation, a crude hole in your head. The apothecary offers a subtle, chemical violation, a dark and uncertain journey into the poison-haunted landscape of your own mind. You make your choice. The sleep of nightmares is still a form of sleep. It is a known darkness. The surgeon's drill is a terrifying, unknown light. Do it, you whisper, your voice a dry rasp. Prepare the potion. The apothecary gives a slow, sad nod. He seems to have expected your answer. Return after the sun has set, he says. It must be prepared in the proper way. You leave his secret garden, leave the world of beautiful, deadly poisons, and you step back out into the street. Your fate is now tied to the dark and arcane magic of this man's craft. You have turned your back on the brutal certainty of the surgeon's steel and have chosen instead the uncertain, dream-haunted darkness of the alchemist's vial. You have made your choice. You have fled from the surgeon's shop, from the clean, brutal, and terrifying certainty of his steel drill, and you have chosen instead the dark, murky, and uncertain path of the apothecary's poisons. The rest of the afternoon is a waking nightmare, a long, anxious purgatory of waiting for the sun to set. You are a condemned man, but you have been allowed to choose your own executioner. You do not know if you have chosen wisely. As the last of the day's light fades from the sky and the city's watchmen begin to light the evening lanterns, you make your way back to the apothecary's shop. The narrow lane is dark and deserted now. The other shops all shuttered and silent. The apothecary's own door is barred, but you give the quiet, prearranged knock. After a moment, the bolt is drawn, and the old man lets you in, ushering you quickly from the street and back into his world of fragrant shadows. The shop is different at night. It is lit by a single smoky oil lamp that casts long, dancing shadows, making the hanging bunches of herbs and the rows of silent jars seem like strange, sleeping creatures. The air is thick with a new and powerful smell, a sweet, heavy, and slightly nauseating aroma that you did not notice this afternoon. It is the smell of the potion he has been brewing for you. The apothecary does not speak. He simply gestures for you to follow him into the small, cluttered back room, the place where his true and most dangerous work is done. Here, a small charcoal brazier glows with a soft, red light, a small pot still simmering gently above it. He takes the pot from the fire. "It is ready," he says, his voice a low, reverent whisper. He presents you with the fruit of his secret labors. It is not the simple clay pot of the cunning woman's poultice. He pours the liquid into a vial of dark, smoked green glass, a vessel designed to protect its potent contents from the light. The bottle is cool and heavy in your hand. You hold it up to the lamplight. The liquid within is not the pale green of your first useless potion. This is a dark, thick, and syrupy infusion, almost black with a faint, oily sheen that clings to the inside of the glass. It looks less like a medicine and more like a poison. "This is not the work of a physician," the apothecary says, as if reading your thoughts. "This is the work of an alchemist. The gentle persuasion of the lettuce has failed. This is a potion of command." He explains his creation with a craftsman's quiet pride. "The leaves of the henbane," he says, pointing to a dark, leafy bunch hanging above you, a plant of the deep earth, ruled by the dark star of Saturn. "They have been steeped for many hours in a strong, dark wine. To this I have added a sliver of the mandrake root, to ground the spirit and prevent it from flying from the body in its sleep. And finally," he adds, his voice dropping even lower, "a single, precious tear of the opium poppy's milk, to bind the sleep and ensure its depth." He takes the bottle from you and pushes a waxed cork firmly into its neck. He then hands it back. "This is a hammer," he says, his sharp, bird-like eyes fixing you with an intense and serious gaze. "It will not gently rock your mind to sleep. It will knock the spirit from the body for a time. The dose is therefore of the utmost importance." He holds up a single, thin finger. "Half of this vial. No more. Pour half into a cup of wine before you seek your bed. It will be enough. To drink the whole thing would be to invite a sleep from which there is no waking. Do you understand me, merchant?" You nod, your own throat suddenly dry. The line between a cure and a poison, you now see, is a terrifyingly thin one. You pay him. The price is the last of your readily available coin, the final nail in the coffin of your family's finances. But money has become a meaningless concept to you. You are not buying a potion. You are buying a chance at oblivion. And for that, you would trade anything. You walk home through the dark, deserted streets of the sleeping city. The small, heavy, and cool glass bottle is a dangerous weight in your hand. It feels both like a sacred relic and a vial of pure liquid sin. It is the key to the one door you have been unable to open. But you have no idea what terrible and monstrous landscape lies on the other side. You arrive at your home. You enter your bedchamber. Your wife is there, waiting. She sees the dark bottle in your hand, and a look of pure animal terror flashes in her eyes. "What is that?" she whispers. "From the apothecary?" "It is a stronger medicine," is all you say, your voice flat and devoid of emotion. "No," she pleads, her hand clutching your arm. "It is not right. It smells of the grave. Do not take it. We will find another way. We will pray." You gently remove her hand from your arm. You are beyond her reach now. You are a man standing on the edge of a great, dark cliff, and you are about to jump. Her world of simple faith and gentle hope cannot help you anymore. You pour a measure of wine into a goblet. Then, with a hand that is surprisingly steady, you unstopper the green glass bottle. You pour half of the thick, dark, and oily liquid into the wine. It swirls, creating dark, sinister patterns in the cup. You hold the goblet up. You see your own pale, exhausted, and terrified face reflected in its dark surface. You have come to this. A desperate man in a cold room about to willingly drink a known poison in the hope of finding a moment's peace. With a final silent prayer, not to God, but to whatever dark and slumbering spirits reside within the leaves of the henbane. You bring the goblet to your lips, and you drink. The taste is immediate and vile. It is a profound and complex bitterness, a taste of earth, of roots, of a deep and ancient greenness, layered over the sourness of the wine. It is the taste of poison. You gag, but you force it down, every last drop. You lie down in your bed. You have done it. You have made the final, desperate gamble. You close your eyes, and you wait, not for a gentle, drifting sleep, but for the swift, powerful, and terrifying blow of the apothecary's hammer to fall upon your conscious mind. You lie in the silent darkness of your bed, a willing participant in your own poisoning. The foul, bitter taste of the henbane wine still coats your tongue, a grim reminder of the desperate bargain you have just made. You wait. For a few long, agonizing minutes, nothing happens. The familiar, frantic rhythm of your own mind begins to reassert itself, and a cold, terrible fear washes over you. What if this, too, fails? What if you have spent the last of your family's fortune on a simple bitter wine, and you are to be left here, once again, alone and awake in the long, dark night? But then it begins. It is not a gentle, drifting sensation. It is a physical invasion. A strange, heavy warmth starts in your stomach and begins to spread, a slow, syrupy tide moving through your limbs. Your fingers and toes tingle, then grow numb. Your tongue and your lips feel thick and clumsy, as if they were made of clay. A profound heaviness settles upon your eyelids, not the familiar weariness of a man who needs sleep, but the unnatural, leaden weight of a body that is being shut down against its will. The sounds of the room begin to distort. Your wife's soft, worried breathing, a sound you know as well as your own, begins to warp and stretch, becoming a slow, distant, rhythmic rushing, like the sound of a great, dark ocean. The flickering light of the single candle in the corner of the room, visible through a gap in the bed curtains, blurs and multiplies, its single flame becoming a dozen dancing, swimming points of light. Your mind, the frantic, unsleeping tyrant that has been your tormentor for a month, begins to lose its grip. The familiar anxieties, the numbers and the names and the lists of debts, they do not fade gently. They are violently pushed aside. It feels as if a great, heavy black velvet curtain is falling inside your own skull. A curtain that smothers all thought, all reason, all control. You have a single, fleeting moment of pure, lucid terror. This is it. This is the sleep of poison. And then the curtain falls completely. You are gone. The apothecary's hammer has fallen. You have found sleep, but you have not found peace. You have been plunged not into the blessed, silent void of restful oblivion, but into a different world entirely. A world that is a dark, twisted, and terrifying echo of your own. You are dreaming, but it is not the gentle, fleeting dream of a natural sleep. It is a vivid, hyper-realistic, and unending nightmare, and you are a prisoner within it. You are aware, on some deep and fundamental level, that you are asleep, that you are in your bed, that this is not real. But this knowledge is a torment, not a comfort, because you are utterly and completely powerless. You are a paralyzed spectator in the front row of a grotesque and horrifying play, and the stage is your own mind. The dream begins in your workshop. It is your familiar, safe space, but everything is wrong. The wood of the great oak workbench, the wood you know so well, seems to breathe, its grain shifting and swirling like dark water. You reach out to touch one of your own chisels, and the hard, familiar steel melts under your fingers like worn wax, dripping onto the floor in silvery pools. The proportions of the room are a fluid, sickening geometry. The walls stretch and recede. The ceiling rises to a cathedral height, and then presses down on you until you can barely stand. Then the scene shifts. You are walking through the streets of your city, but it is a silent, deserted, and nightmarish version of London. The great timber-framed houses lean against each other at impossible, drunken angles. There are no people. There is only the sound of whispers, 1,000 sibilant voices that seem to emanate from the dark, gaping doorways and the black, empty alleyways. They are whispering your name. They are whispering the names of the merchants you owe money to. They are whispering the sum of your debts, over and over again, a sound that grows from a whisper to a great, roaring, accusatory chorus. And then you find yourself in a room with the 3 healers. The physician is sitting at his great desk, but he is made of dry, crumbling parchment, and when he speaks, his words are a cloud of dusty, meaningless leaves. The cunning woman is a thing of woven twigs and animal skins. Her eyes, 2 glowing red embers in the darkness, and she offers you a poultice that is a writhing mass of living serpents. And the surgeon stands by his table of tools, but he is made of cold, dark, and rusted iron, and his hands are not hands, but the blades of his own terrible knives. They all turn to you, and they all offer you their cures at once. A new sensation begins. It is a feeling of impossible lightness, of your spirit being pulled with a sickening, lurching motion from the heavy, leaden weight of your own sleeping body. And then you are flying. You are a weightless, bodiless observer soaring over the dark, twisted rooftops of your dream city. The feeling is one of terrifying, vertiginous freedom, but it is followed, inevitably, by the fall. The world turns over, and you are plunging endlessly, silently, back down into an absolute and lightless abyss. While your mind is suffering these torments, your body is engaged in its own ordeal. Your wife, watching in terror from her stool beside the bed, does not see a man at peace. She sees a man in the grip of a powerful and evil spirit. She sees your body, drenched in a cold, unnatural sweat. She sees your limbs twitching and jerking with a life of their own. She sees your eyes, moving frantically back and forth beneath your closed eyelids. She hears the low, guttural moans that escape your lips. She sees a man who is not sleeping, but who is locked in a terrible, silent and losing battle with the demons of the poison he has consumed. The long, terrible night finally begins to recede. As the first gray light of dawn approaches, the potent magic of the henbane begins to wane. The vivid, terrifying nightmares start to fade, their sharp edges blurring into a thick, dark, and heavy fog. You do not wake. You simply fall from one kind of darkness into another, a deep, heavy, and almost death-like state of utter unconsciousness. The play is over. The theater of your mind is now dark and silent. The apothecary's potion has worked. It has granted you a full night of what to an outside observer might pass for sleep. It has silenced the frantic, calculating merchant in your mind, but it has not brought you rest. It has not brought you peace. It has only replaced the familiar waking hell of your insomnia with the new, and far more terrifying, dreaming hell of a poisoned slumber. The darkness is a deep and heavy ocean. You have been adrift in its terrifying, dream-haunted currents for an eternity. But now, after a timeless age, you feel a slow, insistent, and deeply unwelcome pull. It is the pull of the waking world, a force that is dragging you up from the silent black depths and back towards the painful, noisy surface of consciousness. The return is not a gentle one. It is a slow, agonizing, and painful ascent. The first sensation is not of light or of sound, but of a profound, leaden weight. Your own body feels like a foreign and impossibly heavy object. Your limbs are made of stone, your head a great aching boulder. To open your eyes requires a monumental effort of will, as if you are trying to lift a heavy portcullis. Slowly, you manage to pry your eyelids open. The world that greets you is a blurry, swimming, and hostile place. The familiar, soft light of your bedchamber, filtered through the shutters, is a searing, blinding glare that sends a sharp, stabbing pain through your eyes and deep into your skull. You slam your eyes shut again, a low groan of pure physical misery escaping your lips. The sounds of the morning are a symphony of torture. The gentle cooing of a pigeon on the windowsill outside is a hammering in your ears. The distant, familiar sound of a cart rumbling over the cobblestones is a grinding, grating noise that seems to shake your very bones. And then there is the state of your own body. Your mouth is a dry, foul cavern, coated in a thick, bitter, and chalky residue, the ghost of last night's poisonous potion. Your tongue is a thick, clumsy, and useless thing. A profound and churning nausea is a living creature in the pit of your stomach, and an agonizing, all-consuming thirst has settled deep in your throat, a thirst that feels as though you have swallowed a handful of hot sand. And your head. Your head is a chamber of pure, relentless agony. It is not the familiar ache of weariness. It is a deep, pounding, and vicious headache, a blacksmith's hammer beating a steady, brutal rhythm against the inside of your skull. With a monumental effort, you force yourself to sit up. The room spins violently, and you have to grit the edge of the bed to keep from falling back. You are awake, but you are not well. Your wife is at your side in an instant. Her face is a pale, drawn, and terrified mask. She has been watching you all night, a witness to your terrible sleep. She helps you take a sip of water from a cup, the cool liquid a momentary, blessed relief on your parched throat. You slept, she whispers, her voice a mixture of profound relief and deep, unsettling fear. The entire night, you did not wake once. You look at her, at the dark circles of exhaustion under her eyes. It was not sleep. You managed to rasp, your voice a dry, cracked thing. You cried out, she says, her own voice trembling. Many times. You spoke in strange tongues. Your body, it was drenched in a cold sweat, yet you did not seem to be at peace. You were fighting something in your dreams. Her words bring back the ghosts of the night. The memories of your dream are fragmented, like the shards of a broken mirror, but the feeling of them is a cold, hard presence in your soul. You remember the breathing workbench, the melting tools. You remember the silent, whispering streets of your own city. You remember the terrifying, monstrous visages of the healers. You remember the feeling of flying and the endless, sickening sensation of the fall. You did not have a night of rest. You had a night of frantic, terrifying, and utterly exhausting labor. Your mind, which you had so desperately sought to silence, was not silenced. It was simply unbound, let loose in a prison of its own horrific creation. The potion did not bring you peace. It brought you a different, and perhaps even more profound, kind of torment. You look at your own trembling hands. You feel the weakness in your limbs, the fog in your mind. The irony of your situation is a cruel and bitter thing. After a night of normal, honest sleeplessness, you would wake feeling tired, but you would be yourself. After this night of deep, profound, and chemically induced sleep, you have woken up feeling 100 times worse. You are not just tired. You are sick. You are poisoned. You are haunted. The apothecary's promise of a hammer was true. It has fallen upon your frantic mind, and has indeed knocked the spirit from your body for a time. But the blow from that hammer has left you shattered, bruised, and deeply unwell. The cure is not a cure. It is a poison that offers only a brief, terrifying, and ultimately unrestful escape from your affliction. It is a journey into a temporary but profound madness. You sit on the edge of your bed, your head in your hands, the rune slowly, sickeningly spinning around you. You have come to the end of the path. The final, terrible dilemma is now before you. You can return to your old enemy, the clean, honest, and familiar torment of simple sleeplessness. You can return to this new enemy, the false, poisonous, and dream-haunted sleep of the henbane wine. Or there is the third path, the path you fled from in terror, the path of the surgeon's drill. You are now a man who is truly and completely out of options, and the quiet, workmanlike face of the barber surgeon, his eyes calm and confident, his terrible iron tool held in his hand, begins to feel less like a vision of madness and more like the last and only sane choice in an insane world. The week that follows your night of poisoned sleep is a descent into a new and more intimate kind of hell. You are a man trapped between two warring nightmares. For 2 nights, you attempt to endure your affliction without aid, choosing the familiar waking torment of your racing mind over the terrifying hallucinatory landscape of the henbane wine. But the insomnia, after its brief chemically induced absence, has returned with a new and vicious intensity. You lie in the darkness, and the silence is filled not just with your own anxious calculations, but with the faint, lingering echoes of your terrible dreams. On the 3rd night, broken by sheer, unrelenting exhaustion, you surrender. You unstopper the small green vial and drink the bitter, dark liquid once more. And once more, you are plunged into the abyss of a chaotic, nightmarish slumber that leaves you waking in the morning, feeling sick, haunted, and more profoundly tired than before. You are caught in an impossible, agonizing cycle. You can choose the waking hell of sleeplessness, or you can choose the sleeping hell of the poison. Both paths, you now realize with a chilling certainty, lead to the same destination, madness. The breaking point arrives on a cold, gray afternoon. You are in your workshop, attempting to carve a simple wooden pattern, but your hands are trembling so violently that the chisel keeps slipping. You look at your own hands, these strong, capable craftsman's hands that have been the source of your livelihood your entire life, and you do not recognize them. They are the hands of a frail, sick old man. You catch your reflection in the polished surface of a piece of dark. Finished wood, you see a gaunt, wild-eyed stranger, his face a pale, sweating mask of pure, abject terror. In that moment, you understand. The slow, creeping madness of the insomnia and the frantic, hallucinatory madness of the potion are beginning to merge. You are losing your mind. And in that moment of ultimate desperation, a new and terrible kind of clarity emerges. The surgeon's proposal, which you had fled from in a fit of primal terror, begins to seem not just logical, but profoundly and beautifully simple. The physician, with his elegant academic words, spoke of balancing invisible fluids. The cunning woman, with her strange, earthy magic, spoke of warding off invisible spirits. The apothecary, with his dark and secret poisons, offered a battle against the invisible demons of your own mind. They were all fighting shadows. The surgeon is the only one who offered to fight a thing. He spoke of pressure, of heat, of foul vapors trapped inside the sealed, bony pot of your skull. It is a craftsman's logic. It is a logic you understand. If a barrel of wine is fermenting too quickly, you do not pray over it. You open the bung to release the gas. If a forge has no chimney, it fills with a choking smoke. His diagnosis was not a theory. It was a mechanical reality. And his cure was not a potion or a prayer. It was a physical solution. You walk out of your workshop, leaving your tools where they lie. Your wife sees the look in your eyes and tries to speak, but you brush past her. There is no more room for debate. There is no more time for fear. You know what you must do. You make the journey back to the street of the barbers, your steps no longer hesitant, but filled with a grim, resigned purpose. You are a man walking to his own execution, but you are doing so willingly, for the promise of a final peace. You push open the door to the surgeon's shop. The scene is the same. The smell of soap and old blood. A man in the chair getting a shave. The surgeon sees you. He is not surprised. He simply wipes his razor on a cloth, and a slow, grim, and deeply satisfied smile spreads across his face. It is a smile that says, "I knew you would be back." He leads you to the back room, to the stained wooden chair that you fled from just a week ago. You sit. "The potions did not work then?" he asks. It is not a question. "No," you say, your voice a hollow whisper. "I am ready. Do what you said you would do." He nods slowly. He places his large, powerful hands on your head, his thumbs pressing firmly against your temples, his fingers exploring the shape of your skull. His touch is not that of a healer. It is that of a master carpenter, assessing a piece of difficult wood. "The scholars, with their books," he grunts, his voice full of a craftsman's contempt for the purely theoretical. "They speak of humors and spirits. They treat the shadows. But I have seen this 100 times. I treat the substance." He steps back and begins to explain his science to you, his own great and simple theory of your affliction. His language is not the lofty, Latinate prose of the physician, but the simple, powerful, and deeply convincing language of the workshop. "Your mind," he says, "is a forge. It is the place where the spirit is heated and shaped. But your mind, master merchant, has no chimney. The heat from your anxieties, the smoke from your worries, the foul vapors from your choleric humor, they have been building in there for months. They have nowhere to go. And now the pressure is so great that it is choking the very fire of your soul. It is this pressure that keeps you awake. It is this pressure that is driving you mad." He gestures towards an imaginary bottle. "The potions of the apothecary are like throwing a single cup of water on a raging furnace. It is a hiss of steam, and then the fire burns even hotter. It is useless." He meets your gaze, his eyes full of a brutal, unshakable, and deeply comforting certainty. "We do not need to cool the smoke," he says, his voice a low, final, and absolute declaration. "We need to build a chimney." The metaphor is perfect. It is powerful. It is practical. And to your desperate craftsman's soul, it makes a profound and irrefutable sense. You finally understand. You look at the surgeon, at this great, practical, and unsentimental man of blood and iron, and you are filled not with fear, but with a sudden, strange, and absolute faith. He is the only one who has offered you a solution that you can truly understand. You give him a single, slow nod of acceptance. Your long and terrible journey through the world of medicine is over. You have found your final cure. "Good," the surgeon says, his voice full of a quiet, professional satisfaction. "A sensible choice. Now we must prepare. The apprentice will shave a patch of your scalp. We will need your wife and the baker to hold you. And I," he says, turning to his roll of terrible, beautiful instruments, "will need my finest drill." You have made your decision. You have chosen the brutal, physical logic of the craftsman over the elegant, failed theories of the scholar, and the strange, useless magic of the cunning woman. You sit in the heavy wooden chair at the back of the surgeon's shop, a man who has willingly delivered himself to his own torture for the faint, desperate hope of a final cure. The world outside, the world of commerce, of family, of life, has faded away. Your entire existence is now this small, grim room, the smell of blood and iron, and the calm, confident, and terrifying presence of the man in the stained leather apron. The preparations begin. There is no ceremony here, no reverence. It is the practical, efficient, and deeply unsentimental preparation of a craftsman getting ready for a difficult job. The surgeon's apprentice, a young, pale-faced boy who looks far too nervous for your comfort, comes forward. He holds a bowl of water and a straight razor, its edge a wicked-looking sliver of honed steel. You are instructed to bow your head. You feel the cold, sharp edge of the razor against your scalp. The boy works quickly, his hands trembling slightly, and you feel the scraping of the blade as he shaves a patch of your hair from the very crown of your head, leaving a small, pale, and vulnerably naked circle of skin. Next comes the restraint. The surgeon gestures to your wife, who has been standing in the doorway like a terrified ghost, and to his own brawny apprentice. Hold his shoulders, he commands. Firmly. He must not move, not for any reason. Your wife approaches, her face a mask of pure abject terror. She places her trembling hands on your shoulders. The apprentice takes the other side, his grip strong and impersonal. You are now anchored, a piece of wood clamped to a workbench. Finally, the surgeon approaches you with the last of his preparations. It is a thick, rolled piece of leather. Bite on this, he says, his voice a low, practical grunt. It will stop you from biting off your own tongue. You take the leather in your mouth. It tastes of old sweat and fear. The final preparation is complete. You are now ready. The surgeon turns to his roll of tools, and you watch, your heart a slow, heavy, and terrified drum in your chest. He does not select a knife at first. He selects a small, sharp, and wickedly curved blade. He approaches you. A moment of fire, Master Merchant, he says, to mark the way. Before you can fully process his words, he leans in, and with a swift, practiced motion, he carves a circular incision into your freshly shaven scalp. The pain is a brilliant, white-hot, and all-consuming fire that seems to burn through your entire skull. A muffled scream is torn from your throat, a sound that is lost in the thick leather gag. Then, with a set of iron forceps, he grasps the edge of the circle of flesh and peels your own scalp back from the bone beneath, creating a gruesome, bleeding flap. For the first time, the living, pale white bone of your own skull is exposed to the air. You are now a landscape prepared for excavation. The surgeon returns to his tools. He selects the instrument you have been dreading, the trepan. It is a simple, brutal tool, a hand-operated brace and bit, a larger version of a tool from your own workshop, but this one is designed for bone. He fits a small, circular, saw-toothed drill bit into its head. He places the sharp, pointed tip of the drill in the very center of the exposed circle of your skull. You feel the cold, hard, and unforgiving pressure of the iron against your own bone. Hold him, the surgeon says again, his voice a low grunt of concentration. And then he begins to turn the handle. The sound is the most terrible part. It is not a loud sound. It is a low, slow, intimate, and grinding noise. It is a wet, scraping, and crunching sound. It is the sound of hard iron, relentlessly, patiently, chewing its way through your own living bone. It is a sound that you do not just hear with your ears. It is a sound that you feel. It resonates through your entire skull, a deep, vibrating horror that you can feel in your jaw, in your teeth, in the very roots of your soul. There is not a sharp pain from the drilling itself, for the bone has few nerves. But there is the immense grinding pressure, the feeling of your own head being slowly, methodically, and irrevocably violated. You can smell it. The friction of the drill on the bone creates a thin wisp of smoke, and it has a strange, foul, and unforgettable smell. The smell of a butcher shop, of sawed bone. The world dissolves. Your mind, the very thing you have come here to cure, detaches. You are no longer in the chair. You are floating above it, a terrified and disembodied spirit, looking down at a strange and horrific scene. A group of people, their faces masks of grim concentration, holding down a trembling man, while another man calmly and deliberately drills a hole in his head. The process is slow. It takes an eternity. The surgeon works with a craftsman's patience, stopping every few turns to wipe the bone dust and blood from the tip of the drill. He is not a monster. He is a professional, and he is taking pride in his work, in the clean, perfect circle he is carving. And then, after a lifetime of this grinding, vibrating horror, you feel a subtle but distinct change. There is a slight release of pressure, a small, almost inaudible pop. The surgeon stops. He has broken through. He carefully withdraws the drill. A small, perfect, and bloody circle of your own skull, a roundel of bone, is embedded in the tip of the drill bit. He has done it. The surgeon leans in close to his handiwork, his face a mask of intense, professional curiosity. He peers into the small, red hole he has just created in your head, a new, third eye that looks directly into the sacred, mysterious, and previously sealed world of your own mind. "Ah," he says, and his voice is a low, triumphant whisper. "Behold." He gestures for your wife to look. "See the vapors?" he says, the foul, hot humors of his brain, now free to escape. You are in a state of profound, absolute shock, the world a dim, swimming, and distant thing. But you can feel it. You can feel the cool air of the room on the surface of your own living brain. The surgeon is right. The sealed pot has been opened. The chimney has been built. The most desperate, the most brutal, and the most terrifying of all medieval treatments is complete. The surgeon's work is done. He has bored a clean, perfect hole in the very roof of your being. He has, in his own brutal mechanical logic, built the chimney that will allow the hot, foul vapors of your troubled mind to escape, restoring a cool and placid balance to your brain. He is a craftsman, and he is immensely proud of his difficult and dangerous work. You, however, are a ruin. You sit in the chair, a shivering, bleeding, and profoundly traumatized man, while he performs the final, crude steps of his procedure. He does not replace the small, bloody circle of your own skull that he has removed. He might keep it as a token, a proof of his skill. He simply takes the flap of your scalp and places it back over the open, weeping hole. He applies a thick, greenish poultice of egg whites and comfrey leaves, a feeble and useless barrier against the world, and then binds your entire head in a tight, thick wrapping of linen bandages. His work is complete. He wipes his hands and his bloody tools on a dirty rag. He gives your weeping wife a list of simple, confident instructions. Keep him quiet, a diet of thin gruel. Change the bandage in 3 days' time. The vapors now have a path to escape. The spirit will find its own peace. He collects the second half of his ruinous fee, rolls up his terrible instruments, and departs. A master craftsman who has, in his own mind, just saved a life by bravely and skillfully violating it. The journey home is a waking nightmare. You are carried on a simple wooden litter through the familiar, bustling streets of your own city. The sounds, the smells, the sights of your world are a distant, distorted, and meaningless swirl. The only reality, is the deep, profound, and constant pounding ache in your head, and the strange, terrifying, and unmistakable sensation of the open, vulnerable hole that now exists at the very center of your being. You are returned to your bed, and in the days that follow, a strange and unexpected thing happens. You sleep. It is not the poisoned, nightmare-haunted sleep of the henbane potion. It is a deep, heavy, and almost bottomless stupor. Your body, having endured a series of profound physical and psychological traumas, the bloodletting, the cauterization, and now the trepanation, simply surrenders. It is the deep, exhausted, and healing sleep of a body in profound shock. For a week, you are blessed with a kind of oblivion. Your wife and your family are overjoyed. They see your deep, quiet sleep as a miracle. The surgeon's terrible, brutal cure has worked. They whisper their thanks to God and to the skill of the man with the iron drill. But as your body slowly begins to heal from the trauma, as the initial shock subsides, your old enemy, the true and original affliction, begins to stir in the depths of your mind. One night, a month after the operation, you find yourself lying awake again. The blessed stupor is gone, and in its place is the familiar, frantic, and merciless churning of your own thoughts. The sleeplessness has returned, and now you are left with a new and final reality. You lie in the darkness of your room, a man who has explored the entire terrifying landscape of medieval medicine, and you understand that you have not been cured. You have simply been given a new and more terrible set of choices for how you will endure your torment. This is your life now. Every night, you are faced with a final, horrifying choice. You can choose the first path, the clean, honest, and familiar hell of your own mind. You can lie awake all night, your thoughts a frantic, buzzing hive of calculations and anxieties, and you can rise in the morning a sane, if utterly exhausted, man. Or you can choose the second path, the dark, seductive promise of the apothecary's vial. You can drink the wine of henbane and be granted the illusion of sleep, a deep and heavy unconsciousness that will be filled with monstrous, terrifying, and soul-shaking nightmares. A sleep that will leave you feeling sick, haunted, and more tired than before. Or you can choose the third path. You can lie in the darkness and focus on the strange, new reality of your own body. You can feel the soft, vulnerable spot on the crown of your head, the place where there is no longer bone, only a thin layer of skin and scar tissue protecting the delicate, living miracle of your own brain. You can believe, as the surgeon does, that this hole is a chimney, a necessary vent for the hot vapors of your mind. And you can wonder, with a new and chilling terror, what else might get in. This is your new existence. A sleepless man, a haunted dreamer, or a mutilated creature, forever defined by the hole in his head. The medieval world, in its infinite and terrible wisdom, has offered you its finest cures, and you are left, not with a solution, but with a permanent choice of which torment you will endure. And here, in this dark and silent room, we leave him, a man trapped in an impossible choice, a prisoner of the profound and terrifying ignorance of his age. The story of the medieval treatments for insomnia is a journey into a world where the human mind was a complete and utter mystery, a world where the cure for a troubled spirit was a physical and often brutal assault on the body. Trepanation, the drilling of a hole in the skull, was a real and surprisingly common procedure, used for everything from headaches to epilepsy to madness. Now, as our story fades, think of the quiet, sterile, and almost boring miracle of our own time. Think of the immense, invisible edifice of scientific knowledge that allows us to understand that insomnia is not a matter of hot vapors or restless spirits, but one of brain chemistry, of psychology, of the intricate and delicate dance of neurotransmitters. Think of the simple, science-based remedies we possess, from a gentle herbal tea to a precisely formulated sleeping pill. The greatest luxury is not a cure, but the knowledge that makes a true cure possible. It is the profound peace of mind that comes from knowing that the demons of our sleepless nights can be understood, and that they can be faced not with a prayer, a potion, or a drill, but with the quiet, confident, and compassionate power of science. And now it is time to embrace that peace. Time to let your own mind be still, not by force, but by choice. Time to sleep.